Just finished gluing up my top rack here. Nothing too exciting. It's only been in the clamps for just a few minutes, but it's such a tight fit. I know that it's not coming apart. I'm going to get this out of here. Since this is the back of the wall, I don't really care about smearing this glue here. So I'll wipe this off. And the reason I want to do this is I want to show you what I plan to do. Yeah. So what I'm looking at is, let me readjust my camera here so you can see better what's going on. Hang on a second. Or maybe I'll just change my perspective. What I'm looking at is this. When you look at this from the front here, these are on 2-inch centers, and this is a 2-inch center from this edge, but it just doesn't look right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this end off at that length, which is, let's see what that is, 1.25 inches. So I'm going to lop this off here at 1.25 inches, and then the same thing is happening down at this end with this last opening for the bridge. Originally I thought I'd cut it on a 3-inch center, which is out here, but that's going to look too long. So I measured here at 2.25 and made a mark, and that's where I'm going to cut this one off, is at 2.25. So that this piece is the same length as that, and the same thing on this end. This length will be the same here. So what that gives me is the ability then to, make sure this is going to be nice and flush, which it is now anyway, but with a nice blade and a nice cross cut, that'll look very, perfect, along with the other cut on this end. And then once I get it up on the wall, you're never going to notice the difference in the length, except it is going to be shorter on this end, but that's fine. So that's done. I'll get some sanding done on that. It's all going to have to be kind of hand sanded in here. Get this kind of cleaned up, these edges, so they're not so sharp. So I got that to look forward to. And the other thing I'm going to do is show you here is I am going to make that cutout for the brush, and it just so happens that this radius of this brush is 2 1/8 inches, and I have the largest Forstner bit I have is 2 1/8, and that works out just fantastic. So the length is 9 inches, so you subtract that diameter to get your centers, and it's 6 7/8. So I just made a little spacer on a piece of scrap wood. I'll put a stop on my drill press table after I locate it on my top here, and I'll make that cut, or series of cuts. Use my router to clean it up, and then I'm going to make a groove here as well for chalk pieces. And those will go here. However many pieces I can get in there, and keep it reasonably centered, I guess, on the brush. So I'll just make a little tray for that, and then we can start putting it together and sanding these pieces. I've got to remove the burn marks and sand the inside here before I glue it together. round over some edges. But basically it's just about done, you know. So it's looking good. I like the way it's turning out. So let me do all that stuff, I guess, when I get ready to do this cutout. I'll show you how I'm going to do that, and how many pieces of chalk I'll get fitted in here and get that laid out as well. So next time we see this, I'll have this piece off and on the drill press, getting ready to do that. Here's a little eye opener for you, that not all chalk is created equal. This is a bunch of chalk that my dad and brother had before I got the table. This measures about 15/16 square. Here's some new chalk that I got when I ordered the new cover. This measures 7/8 square. So you can see there's a bit of a difference there. So I'm going to go with the wider one, and if you end up with smaller chalk, it'll still fit in there. It'll be sloppy, but at least it'll still fit. If I go smaller, I can't put these in there, and then I just have to get a bunch more of this. So I don't need any more chalk. I'll just get I'll just make the groove wide enough for 15/16, and we'll go with that. So it looks like I can fit 7 pieces here. I think you can see that, yeah. And that's what I'm going to go with. So I'm gonna line up. I'm gonna make my mark for this size trough for 7 pieces of chalk. You know, and they're not perfectly square either, or perfect cubes, I guess. So I'll make it. It's just going to be a little hair longer than that. It will be 7/8 wide or 15/16 wide, because that's plenty wide. And then I'm going to make my cutout for my brush right there. So I'll get those laid out here, and then we'll go to the drill press and start making those layout, or those cuts with a drill bit. The other thing, the only reason I wanted to show you this is just to make you aware that these things come in 2 different sizes, or maybe this is the new standard now. I don't even know, but that's what we're going to do. Is we're going to use the old ones. All right, I got a bit of a head scratcher for me anyway about how to lay this out. So what I'm going to do is, I originally had thought I'd take my marking gauge and mark these lines, these outside lines, and then drill establish my 2 end cuts with the drill bit. But on second thought, I've decided to establish my 2 ends first, then take my marking gauge and pull it off of that tangent point and connect the dots basically on this one. Now this one, I don't have a 15/16 drill bit. I've got a 7/8. So this one I can scribe the marks if I want to, and when I drill it, I'll be within those lines. That's not a big deal. So I've taken this 2 1/8 inch bit, and I've driven the spur into the wood here and established where I'm going to drill my first hole. My first hole to establish some mortise for this brush. Then I'll move it down 6 7/8 inches with the spacer I have. Drill this one on this end, and then, like I say, connect the dots. So I'm going to drill these 2 holes first. Then when I do my marking work, I'll just use the gauge here, 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 and here, and then go back to the drill press. So I don't want to mark this one. I mean, I could, but I'm just going to do it all at one time. So let me go drill this. And incidentally, I'm going about a 1/4 inch deep on this one. This one here, I'll probably end up going about an 1/8 inch deep or so. We'll see. So I'll be back in a flash. Alright, I got everything ready to go. Got my spacer. My stop block is set. I think I have my depth of cut set, but I'm going to check that when I get done here. So let's see how we're doing. Whoop. Looks a little bit shallow. Yeah, we're 2135. I'm going to set that a little bit deeper. And give her one more try here. That's not bad. That's within 6/1000 of an inch. I'll stick right there. So let me clean this up quick. Now we'll use our spacer. Yeah, we're very close to the line, so that's good. Okay. All right, now I'll take this over to my ultimate work table there and set my marking gauge, pull these two lines, and then also scribe these two lines for the chalk. And then we'll come back to the drill press. I'm thinking that I'm gonna route this out with the router, but I still want to have those lines because I don't want to have all these little drill bit marks. One on each end is okay, but I don't want to have a whole series of them going down the center. All right, I got this set for the outside line, I'll call it. Okay, that looks good. Let me set it for the other one here. That should do it. Alright, so I got those. Now we can do these two. Well, before I do that, I'll put that stop in there so it doesn't, when I push against this, it doesn't move on me. So let's see here. We're going to go on the line this time. There. Or get my specs on here. Right there. Okay, and one more. You know, I'm generally not a big marking gauge guy. I'm one of those guys that if it doesn't have a cord attached to it, I'm not going to use the tool. But in this case right here, it's got to be done with, otherwise you're never going to establish a nice straight line like this doing it any other way. And with this nice sharp knife, I'm able to cut those fibers nice and clean. And I'm cutting with the bevel. The bevel is going away from the edge, so it naturally wants to pull the marking gauge to the reference edge there. Okay. So we got our shoulders established, or our lines established anyway. And we can start working on getting that out of there. I think I'm going to take a marking knife and mark these edges as well, here and here. So I'll get that done, and then I'll get my router out and we'll get a spiral bit in there and we'll start to hog out this waste. Alright, my eyeballs aren't what they used to be, so what I've done is I've taken a Sharpie and stayed inside the lines. I know that if I start to take out that black line, I'm getting very close to my cut lines. So I'm going to do both of these at the same time with the first couple passes, knowing that this one, I think after my second pass I'll stop. And I've decided not to drill this one. I'm just going to cut it with the router bit. And this one I'll just hog out the whole thing too. So I got it ready to go. Make my first cut. And gonna get my ears on here. Yeah, that was too much, that first cut. Like I say, I think I want to go 1/8 of an inch. I'm just going to grab a drill bit here. Set my stop at 1/8. And see how it looks, and maybe I'll change my mind after I make my first pass here, but we'll see. I think I will go a little deeper here. I'm just going to eyeball my stop for about 1/16. Okay, the rest of this I'll do with, I'll get the shoulders established with the chisel, and then I think I might just go in here with a rabbet, a dado plane I have. See if I can skim that just a little bit. We'll see. So let me get this set up and I'll start doing some chopping. I'll come back to it when I get done here. Alright, just got that cleaned up. Let's see how this fits. Where are we a little off here? Let's see. It's not the length, I don't believe. Let me see. Maybe it is. I think what I've got going on there is it's not a true 2 1/8 inch radius. It's a little narrower than that. Alright, so what I'm going to do, still got my drill press set up. I'm going to go back, I guess it is the length, because it sits in there otherwise. It's a nice fit width-wise, very nice. And it doesn't have to be a wedge fit, but I am going to have to lengthen this just a tad. So I'm going to take it off of this side. Let me go do that and I'll be back. Alright, just came back from the drill press. It fits, but it's got to be pushed in there. And what the problem is that this is probably a handmade brush, I'm guessing, or because it's not perfectly round. So it sits in there pretty well. Like I say, you got to push it in, and the reason is that these corners are just interfering with the true 2 1/8 inch radius. So what I'm going to have to do is relieve these corners a little bit. And I don't have a, I wish I had a rounded chisel. I could just get in there and do it by hand. That'd be the best way to do it. But I don't have that. So what I got to do is just take and make this tangent a little bit longer, and so that on the top it's going to be a little straight right there. So that's going to take some careful drill press work, I'll tell you that. But that's the way it's going to have to be. So I'm going to take my time and do that, and then I'll come back and show you the results. Hopefully they'll be good ones. So just give me a few minutes here. Well, incidentally, I'm going from a 2 1/8 inch bit to 1 3/4 inch, I believe this is. Inch 7/8. So maybe I might go to. Yeah, we'll start. This will do it if I can get it lined up right. that worked to my advantage using that 1 7/8", 1/4 inch difference in diameter. So I offset from the edge 1/8 and from the from the stop 1/8 and then from the back 1/8. And so you can see that this hole here from the spur of the other bit is 1/8 of an inch this way, 1/8 of an inch that way. And I only did the back side, and that's all I needed to do. Now this thing just drops right in there. So it's got a little bit of a twist to the board, or to the handle, but sits in there nice now, doesn't have to be forced, just drops right in. So I'm happy with that. I'll finish chopping out this one for the chalk, and then I'll be doing some sanding, and we'll be good to go. There should be. It works really well. So I got the slot, I got a little room in there, but that's okay. You don't want it to be snug on that. So it's going to be good. Got some sanding in my future here. Got to take care of this mess and get that cleaned up. This is almost done. Got a little burn mark there that I'll take care of. Okay, so sanding and finishing. I think about the only thing left to show you after I get done is maybe showing you it mounted on the wall. But I'll get that posted here shortly, or I'll do that. I think I'll post this video as my last video. Maybe I'll do one more dry fit for you. Cut my one piece to length, the upper piece, and then it'll be glue up time and sanding and finishing. One last footnote on this project before I glue up the bottom. I got everything sanded and done, but one thing I noticed, and it was not planned, but this end joint here on this top part of the rack that's going to hold the cues turned out just fantastic. And it's one of those things as a woodworker you appreciate, I guess. This is going to be the back here, but you can see how these two pieces of board came together, and the sapwood, it looks like they're bookmarked, book matched, I should say, not bookmarked, book matched pieces of wood right here. So I know as a woodworker, every time I walk by that, I'm going to appreciate that, but your common everyday Joe probably wouldn't. Just one of those little surprises that came along with this project. So I'm going to get this thing glued up, do some final sanding on the bottom part, put some finish on it, and put her up on the wall. And then it'll be time to go to work on that, on the light that's going to go above my pool table. So thanks a lot for watching, guys, and then next time we get together with a video, it'll be pool table light time. See ya.